one in particular. Okay, that's fine. So let me share my screen now. So for question 5, this was a lot longer of a question than you would imagine. If you thought this was an easy question, ho ho, you were very, very wrong. Okay. So taking a look at this question here, it says below are 9 lines, which lines are parallel? We know from yesterday's lesson, we know that parallel lines have the same slope. So all we have to do is find the slope. Easy. However, the issue here is that each of these questions, not all of them, or pretty much only one of them, is in y equals mx plus b form. So the first thing we're going to do as a class, right, is to take up and write down each of these equations in y equals mx plus b form. And the reason why we do that, we know that. The reason why we do that is because we want the slope and we want the y-intercept, right? So we have to be able to reorganize it so that we get the slope and the y-intercept. So here, for question B, right, it's 2x plus y equals 4. Okay. We need to rearrange this for y equals mx plus b. So we're going to move the 2x to the other side. I'm going to get y is equal to negative 2x plus 4. And there's my equation. And I can get the slope here, where the slope is negative 2. Okay. The slope is negative 2. We can then continue to the next question, or the next equation. So C, we'll keep using different colors. So for C, we have x plus 2y is equal to 3. Okay. Once you have x plus 2y is equal to 3, we can move the x to the other side. So we're going to get 2y is equal to negative x plus 3. And then we divide everything by 2 to get rid of the 2 on the y. And that's going to give me y is equal to negative 1 over 2x plus 3 over 2. And doing so, I get m is equal to negative 1 over 2. Okay, this is lagging again, so I'm going to snip this, and I'm going to put this on a Google document. Sorry, give me 1 second. Okay, so this is question 5 from 3.2, right? So far, we've rearranged question B and questions part B and part C. So let's keep going. Okay. So let's do part D. So for part D, let's zoom in a little more. So for part D, our question was 3 bracket y minus 2 equals 6 minus x. So first, before we move anything, we want to expand the bracket here. And remembering how to expand is to do, this. Right? So 3 times y is 3y. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And that's going to equal 6 minus x. Once we have that down, we can move the plus 6 to the other side. We can then combine like terms on the right side. We have the 6 and we have the 6. So 6 plus 6 is going to give us our answer. So 6 plus 6 will give us 12. So I'm going to get negative x plus 12. Once we do that, we divide by 3. And we're going to get negative 1 over 3x plus 12 divided by 3, which is 4. The slope we get here is negative 1 over 3. Okay? Next question is E, or next part is E. For question E, 2x plus 6y equals 3. We move the 2x to the other side. We're going to get 6y equals negative 2x plus 3. We divide everything by 6. And we're going to be left with negative 1 over 3x plus 1 over 2. And that's going to give me my slope of negative 1 over 3. Next question we'll do in black. So for F here, we have x plus y equals 4. Pretty easy question. And we move the x to the other side, and we're done. So negative x plus 4. So I'm going to get m is equal to negative 1. Are you guys with me so far? Perfect. Okay. So we have D, E, F. Now we have our last three. We have G, H, and I, which are the more complicated ones, but you guys should still be fine with it. So let's work with a different color. Let's go dark green. So x is equal to negative 1 over 2y plus 3. Was that James who just came in? Okay, fantastic. So James, we're starting to take up 3.2 question 5. So x is equal to 1 half y plus 3. Okay. And rearranging this, we move the plus 3 to the other side. Now, I know I had situations where I had people ask me, like, Mr. Choi, I don't like having y on the right side, or I don't like having a variable on my right side. Can I rewrite it on the left? And I said, yes, you can. If you want to just change the sides like that, like just switching the two positions, you can do that as long as nothing changes. Like you're literally just changing the positions of the two sides just so it's easier for you to understand. You could do that. That's fine. So if this is easier to understand, you can definitely do that. Okay. So once we have that, we have to get rid of the negative 1 over 2. Dividing by negative 1 over 2 is the same thing as multiplying by negative 2, right? Remember, dividing by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying the reciprocal, right? Multiplying the flip of the fraction. So this actually becomes this. And to end it off, you'll get this. Okay? So when you divide, if you go on a calculator and you do 1 divided by 0.5, what do you get? Two, right? Why is it 2? Because when you divide by a fraction, you flip the reciprocal. 0.5 is 1 half, right? So dividing by 1 half is multiplying by 2. But since we're dividing by negative 1 half, we're multiplying by negative 2, right? You always multiply the flip of the fraction when you're dividing it. So my slope, my final slope here, I'm going to get m is equal to negative 2. Okay. We got 2 more to go. We'll use light blue for the next one. or just blue, I guess. H, we got this one here, negative 1/2 x plus 4 is equal to y plus 2. Make sure I copied that down correctly. Yes. So for here, same idea. We're going to multiply it out first. And so negative 1/2 times x is negative 1/2 x. Negative 1/2 times 4 is negative 2, because 4 divided by 2 is 2. Then on the right side, we're left with y plus 2. Your choice, once again, if you want to flip it. I'm not going to flip it for this one. I'm going to move the plus 2, this one, to the other side, because we want y alone. And I'm going to get negative 1/2. Whoops. Sorry, guys. Negative 1/2 x minus 2 equals y. And that's going to give me negative 1/2 x minus 4 is equal to y. If you want to flip it around, you can. And so my slope here is negative 1/2. Our very final question, we'll do it in gray. Or should we do it? What does this look like? Wow, fancy, nice. We'll do a fancy pen for the last one. Sure, let's just do that. All right, x plus y over 2 equals 3. I want you to just multiply, right? Multiply negative 1/2 to 4 on a calculator. You'll get negative 2. Like, this is just simple. Like, you just have to do it on a, you just have to do it on a calculator, right? Okay, maybe that's a little hard to read. That might be a little hard to read. Or if we did lava. Let's just have fun with this. Yes, I will zoom out at the very end. Yes, don't worry. So for the last one here, for question I, we want to get rid of the 2 first. So remember, whenever we have a fraction with multiple operations at the top, there's invisible brackets. So we always multiply out the denominator first. So we're going to get x plus y is equal to 3 times 2. In doing so, I'm going to get x plus y equals 6. Then we move the x to the other side. I'm going to get negative x plus 6. So the slope is negative 1. Okay. So that's going to be everything. Let's zoom out and let's look at this whole thing. So this is all the work you should have done to solve this question. This is the bare minimum you should have done to solve this question. You need to find the slope for all of this. You needed to do all of these conversions. If you did not, get the practice. Your test is on Monday. There's no reason not to. So make sure you're doing this. Make sure you get this done. Now, that being said, we have our equations here. The question asked us which ones are parallel. So looking at these, if someone wants to say, oh, like the letters for which ones are parallel, feel free to put them out. So therefore, which ones are parallel? D and D are parallel. Yeah. Anything else? F and I are parallel. Yep, Mercel, that's right. F and I. What else? Is there anything else? H and C, and then Rowie wrote B and G. Elia wrote B and G. Perfect. H and C, B and G are parallel. Perfect, right? Good. You're looking for matching slopes. Once you have the matching slopes, identifying what's parallel is very simple. The only one that's not parallel is this lonely one here at the very beginning, where the slope is 3. Right? Poor little equation is not partnered up with anyone. Such is life. So, very good. Now, once again, the hardest part about this is not, hey, is this parallel? That's not the hard part, right? That's what we learn. But that wasn't the hard part of that lesson, right? Of 3.2. What was the hard part was, hey, can you rearrange the equation to get y equals mx plus b? Because from there, finding the slope is easy, right? So the skill you're practicing here is, yes, understanding what is parallel and what is perpendicular, but also understanding, can you rearrange it to solve for your slope and your y-intercept if you need it? Okay? So that's the important part here. So I'm going to leave it up for just a little bit longer for whoever needs to copy. Give it like another minute, and then we'll continue on with question 6. Okay, so we're going to move on. We're not going to save that. Question 6 here. You're given the slopes of 2 parallel lines, and it asks you to find the value of m. So for question 6 here, once again, you're given this 2 slopes. It uses m, which is a little confusing. We could change it to x. It doesn't really change anything here. So I can change this to x if I want instead of using m, if that helps clarify things, right? Because we do use m specifically for slope. So we're saying the slope of the first one, for question 6, the slope of the first one is x plus 3, and the slope of the second is 3x minus 5. And it says it's parallel, which means these two slopes are equal to each other. It's just asking you to do algebra. So it's x plus 3 equals 3x minus 5. We move the 3x there. We move the plus 3 there. So I'm going to get x minus 3x is equal to negative 5 minus 3. And you should end up here. This is for question 6. You should end up with negative 2x equals negative 8. Dividing both sides by negative 2, you're going to get x equals 4. And that's the final answer. Right? So back to algebra, back to unit 1, right? Remembering how to do algebra, all that kind of stuff. That's the important part here. That's question 6. Any questions on that? All right, looks like we don't have any questions. We're going to move on here. For question 7, the lines 2x plus y equals 6 and 8 minus y equals mx are parallel. Find the value of m. Okay, So it tells us it's parallel. The two lines are not in y equals mx plus b form. So let's first change that. So for the first line here, 2x plus y equals 6. Rearranging that, I'm going to get negative 2x plus 6 as my first equation. So there's my first one here. For my second equation, we have 8 minus y equals mx. Moving it to the other side, I'm going to get negative y is equal to mx minus 8. Dividing everything by negative 1, I'm going to get y is equal to negative mx plus 8. Okay. So these are the two equations I'm working with. And it says these two lines are parallel. Which tells you that the slopes are the same. So the slope for the first one is negative 2. The slope for the second one is negative m. Solve for m. Easy. Divide by negative 1. So m is 2. Done. Because for here, slope is negative 2. For here, slope is negative m. So that's why we can set negative 2 equal to negative m, and then just divide by negative 1 to get rid of the negative, and we get positive 2 for m. Okay, so then we get to, sorry, need a little bit of water. Then we get to the last one. Four x minus 2y over 3 equals 3, and then 3x plus y equals 2 plus kx are parallel. Find the value of k. This was a difficult one. This was a challenge question. This would probably be a thinking question or an application question on a test. So, for question 8, you take the first equation, and we're going to solve for y equals mx plus b first. It's dividing by 3. We multiply by 3 to get rid of it. So we're going to get 9. 3 times 3 is 9 on the right side. Moving the 4x over, we're going to get minus 4x plus 9. Dividing everything by negative 2, we're going to get y is equal to 2x plus, or sorry, minus 9 over 2. So there's our first equation there. Our second equation, 3x plus y, I'll do it in black, 3x plus y equals 2 plus kx. So this one's a little weird. We have k. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the kx to the left side. Or actually, no, sorry. We're going to move the 3x to the right side because y is already alone. So we're going to move this over there. So we're going to get y is equal to 2 plus kx minus 3x. Now for here, if k was a number, we could subtract 3. Right? We are allowed to combine like terms. The issue is k is a letter. It's a variable. We don't know what k is. So what you can do is something like this. And let me explain. Because you know, I can combine like terms, kx minus 3x, assuming k is a number. So what I've done is, I'm going to subtract k minus 3 because that's what I should be doing. And then I'm going to put x. And so that's why it's in brackets there to solve by completing, by collecting like terms, k minus 3. So I know I've identified they are like terms. I'm going to subtract them and put them in brackets. So that's going to give me k minus 3 in brackets, x plus 2. This now allows us to compare the slopes. It says these two lines are parallel. The slope here is 2. The slope here for the second equation is k minus 3. So putting them equal to each other, I get 2 is equal to k minus 3, and I can solve for k. You should get 2 plus 3 is k, so 5 is equal to k. Just like that. So the hardest part about this is understanding, I can do kx minus 3x and turn that into k minus 3. Right? That's the hardest part. Any questions or clarifications on 3.2 homework? Does that clarify? Perfect. Good. Yeah, because they're parallel, right? You're setting the slopes equal to each other. What do you mean about the question before that? What about the question? Okay, cool. Remember, just take some time to think it through before you ask the question, because like you're saying like, you ask the question, then you get it. So just take a double take at it, and then if you really don't know, then ask the question so that it's not like back and forth. But asking questions is good. So thank you for asking. So 3.2, that's it. No one else is asking questions. So we are going to move on from 3.2. 3.3. You had 6 questions on 3.3. 6 questions. Let's do a quick check here. And I want you to be honest. Okay? Please be honest when you when you answer this. It is anonymous, once again. I'm not going to know what like who answers what. But let's be honest here. There's a poll going asking you, did you do these questions? 3.3, question 1 to 6, be honest. I'm waiting for the last person to vote. We have 9 out of 10 voted. 10 out of 10 have voted. Last 2 had a hard time doing it. That's fine, as long as you tried it. Trying counts. So trying the homework counts as doing it. Like let's say you got to the last question and you weren't sure, that still counts. That's the main thing. Okay? So majority of the class did not do it. Okay? So 6 people did not do these questions, 4 people did. So, the 4 people that have completed these questions, you guys get to relax for the next 15 minutes. For the 6 people that did not do it, you have 15 minutes to try as many questions as you can. Look at the notes, try the questions. Right? Then we're going to take it up because there's no point taking it up without you trying. I want you to try it. So try these 6 questions, look at the notes from yesterday, and then we're going to take it up after 15 minutes. Okay? So I'll be back. We'll be back in 15 minutes. I'll put a timer. Okay, with that, time is up. Let's take this up. Okay, so hopefully you guys have given it a shot during that 15-minute break. Those 15 minutes, for those that completed it, please come back. Let's get this started here. For our first question, find the equation of the line that has a slope of -2 and goes through the point 4, -3. So the slope is -2. So let's zoom in a little more. Let's work with more space. So the slope is -2, right? So step one, we're going to sub it into y equals mx plus b. So far we have y equals -2x plus b. Step two was to sub 4, -3. Okay. 4 is x, -3 is y, so we get -3 is equal to -2 times 4 plus b. Step 3 was to solve for b. So I'm going to get -3 is equal to -8 plus b. And moving the -8 to the other side, I'll get -3 plus 8 is equal to b, which gives me 5 equals b. So my final equation, y is equal to -2x plus 5. It's my final equation. Okay, that should be your final answer that you get. Y is equal to -2x plus 5. Question 2. This one is even easier. 0.03. 0.3 is the y-intercept. Therefore, b equals -3. So the final equation immediately is this. And you're done. Remember, sometimes I give you the y-intercept. And you have to realize that. Like, oh, Mr. Choi gave us the y-intercept. That means I can just say b is -3 and then end the question. Exactly. Do that. Nothing stops you from doing that. Question 3. Find the equation of the line that has the slope 4/3 and passes through -2, 5. So the slope here is 4/3. So then we have y equals 4/3x plus b. And it passes through the point -2, 5. So we're going to sub -2, 5 into the equation, which will give us this. Now this question forces us to use fractions. Does that change anything? Nope. So multiplying out this here, numerator multiplies with numerator. So I'm going to get -8/3 plus b on the right side. Moving the -8/3 to the left side, I'm going to get 5 plus 8/3 equals b. I cannot add these fractions together, so I will change the left fraction, the 5, which is technically over 1, right? I'm going to change that, and that's going to become 15/3 plus 8/3, because I need a common denominator. 15 plus 8 will give me 23/3 is equal to b, which cannot be simplified. So my final equation, y is equal to 4/3x plus 23/3. So those are the first 3 questions. I'm going to zoom out so you can see the answers for the first 3 questions. Does anyone want any clarification on these 3 questions? Any clarification? All right. We're going to move on to the next 3 questions. Question number 4, it says, find the equation of the line that has the slope m is equal to -5/4 and passes through 1, 1/2. Same idea. M is equal to -5/4. We're going to plug that into our y equals mx plus b. Then we're going to sub in our point. We're going to sub in 1. Let me rewrite that. We are going to sub in 1 comma 1/2. In doing so, we're going to get 1/2 is equal to negative 5/4 times 1 plus b. Well, multiplying by 1 doesn't change anything, so we're going to get 1/2 is equal to negative 5/4 plus b. Moving the negative 5/4 to the left side will give us 1/2 plus 5/4, equals b. And solving this here, 1/2 can be converted to 2/4 for a common denominator, multiplying it by 2. In doing so, we have 7/4 is equal to b. So then we can write our final equation, y is equal to negative 5/4 x plus 7/4. And there's our final answer. Okay, question 5. Find the equation of a line that is parallel to this and has the same y-intercept as y equals 1/2 x plus 2. Well, if we're finding something that is parallel to the first equation, we need the slope. We can't really get the slope from this standard equation. So we copy down the standard equation. And we solve for y. So moving 3x and plus 12 to the other side, I'm going to get negative 4y is equal to negative 3x minus 12. I then divide by negative 4. I'll do it in red so we know it's a different step. So dividing by negative 4 for my next step. And that's going to give me y is equal to 3/4x plus 3. It says it's parallel to this. Therefore, the slope is equal to 3/4. So that's what our first piece of information is. We solve for the equation of the line in y equals mx plus b because we need the slope if we're finding it's parallel. And so we found the equation y equals mx plus b. Because the line that we want is parallel to it, we know that the slope is also going to be 3/4. That's our first piece of information. The second piece of information is the y-intercept. It has the same y-intercept as y equals 1/2 x plus 2. Has same y-intercept. Therefore, the y-intercept is 2, the same thing as in the question. Which means what's my final equation? The equation is y equals 3/4x plus 2. So that's question 5, right? It tells you that it's parallel to the first line, so you find the slope. It tells you that it has the same y-intercept, and it's written in y equals mx plus b, so you can clearly get the y-intercept from the second equation. Then you plug it into your equation and you can write it out. Question 6. It says find the equation of the line that is perpendicular to y equals negative 2/3x plus 1 and passes through the point. So we have y equals negative 2/3x plus 1. The slope is negative 2/3. which means the perpendicular slope is going to be 3 over 2. Why? Because we flip the fraction and then smack a negative on it. But there's already a negative there, so two negatives make a positive. So this is what we want. So therefore, for our new line, we have y is equal to 3 over 2x plus b. Are there any questions about this step?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you explain the number 6 again?
Yeah. So it tells us that the line is perpendicular to the equation that we're given. So the main thing we want to figure out first is slope. Perpendicular slopes are negative reciprocals, which means that you flip the slope and you multiply it by -1. So you first find the slope of the equation, and then you take that slope, you flip it, so -2 over 3 becomes -3 over 2, and then you multiply by -1, which gives me positive 3 over 2. And that's going to be
I got it right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. So now we sub in our point 4, 2, and this step is the same, right? We're doing the same thing as previous. We're subbing in the point because it passes through it, and we're going to get 2 is equal to 3 over 2 times 4 plus b. Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
So now, solving this out, we're going to get 2 equals 12 over 2 plus b. 12 over 2 can be simplified before you move it. If you can make it easier for yourself. 12 over 2 simplifies to just 6. And then moving the 6 to the other side, I get 2 minus 6 is equal to b, which gives me -4 is equal to b. So my final equation will be y is equal to 3 over 2x. Sorry, let me rewrite that. Y is equal to 3 over 2x minus 4. And that's the final equation there. So I'm going to zoom out for this page so you can see all 3 questions on this page and copy that down if you haven't done so already. Would anyone like any other clarifications? Once again, remember, asking questions is always beneficial. Maybe someone else can also benefit from it. It's always good to ask questions. Remember, asking a question is fine, but there are things like stupid questions. And what stupid questions are is a question that has nothing to do with the math problem. That would be considered a stupid question. Like if you said, Mr. Choi, I understand the math, but why does COVID exist? And I'd be like, that's a great question, but it's also a stupid one because it has nothing to do with the math, and that's not what I asked for, right? So in the context of this, right, we can always talk otherwise, but when I'm asking about this, do you have any questions? All right, looks like there's no questions. So seeing that more than half the class did not do the questions, 3.4 had a lot of questions here. So question 1 had 7 parts. And then there was question 2 and question 3. For those that did not do this, I'm going to give you 15 minutes to do question 1. Question 2 and 3 we will take up together as a class. I will teach question 2 and 3. So finish all of question 1, part A to part G. All of that, and we're going to take it up. Okay, so another 15 minutes on the timer. We're going to take it up after 15 minutes, and then we're done class for today. Okay? So 15 minutes on the clock, and I'll see you back then.
Sir, I have a question. The
Yes, what is
class
your
is shorter today.
we're gonna well, we'll see how short it becomes,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Maybe sometimes the explanations get a little longer. We never know, right? But it should be a little shorter than normal. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, with that, that is time. Let's take up the work here. Okay. So, were any of them overly difficult, or did anyone have specific troubles? All right, so we're going to take it off then just from the beginning all the way through. The first one here, let's zoom in. So this one here, you're given 2 points and you're asked to solve for the equation of the line, which means you need to use the slope formula. The slope formula is as follows. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's the slope formula. So here we can immediately write down, oh, x1 is 8, y1 is 1, x2 is 9, and y2 is 2. We have our 2 points. We can write down all of that, which allows us to plug it into our formula. I'm going to get 2 minus 1 over 9 minus 8. And 2 minus 1 is 1. 9 minus 8 is 1. So my slope is just 1. There's my first slope. So since my slope is 1, I can plug it into y equals mx plus b, which will give us 1x plus b. Okay, so I'm not going to write 1x, but it's the same thing as just writing y equals x plus b. Then I sub in one of the points. It doesn't matter which point you plug in. You could do 8, 1 or 9, 2. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do 8, 1. And that puts it at 8. 1 is equal to 8 plus b. Moving the 8 to the other side, 1 minus 8 is equal to b. Okay. And then plugging that in, I get negative 7 is equal to b. So once we have that down, we can now write our final equation. Y is equal to x minus 7. Okay. So when you're given 2 points and you're supposed to solve for the equation of the line, you need to find the slope using the slope formula, then plug it into the equation. Okay. So I'm not always going to write down x1, y1, x2, y2. So the main thing I'm going to be doing is plugging it into the formula correctly, right? So I'm not always going to write this down, right? I will for the next 2, and then I'll probably stop because it is going to take up a lot of time. So for question B, x1 is 9, y1 is negative 3, x2 is 1, y2 is 4. Plugging it into our formula, 4 minus, whoops, let's do that again. 4 minus negative 3 divided by 1 minus 9. That gives me 7 on top, negative 8 on bottom. So my final slope is 7 over negative 8. We plug that into our formula, which we can just write it as negative 7 over 8, x plus b. Doesn't matter where the negative goes in a fraction. If it's 1, if there's a negative, you just put it anywhere. Then, we sub in one of the 2 points. We usually use the simpler one. So I'm going to use 1, 4. And plugging that in, I'm going to get 4 is equal to negative 7 over 8 times 1 plus b, which gives me just negative 7 over 8 plus b. Solving that out and moving negative 7 over 8 to the other side, I get 4 plus 7 over 8 is equal to b. And changing the 4, I'm going to get 32 over 8 plus 7 over 8 is equal to b, which gives me 39 over 8 is equal to b. The final equation then would be y is equal to negative 7 over 8x plus 39 over 8. And there's our final answer. Looks like we are so far so good. Next one here, question C. x1 is negative 3, y1 is 8, x2 is negative 3, y2 is 5. Plugging it into my slope formula, I'm going to get 5 minus 8 over negative 3 minus negative 3. This will give us 5 minus 8 on top is negative 3. Negative 3 minus negative 3 is going to be 0, but we can't divide by 0. So what's the actual slope for this? Undefined. This is an undefined slope. And if you ever get a special case, is this a vertical line or a horizontal line? Anyone in chat? Is this a vertical line or a horizontal line? Vertical. Yep, most people saying vertical, so vertical is correct. This is vertical. Okay, so the line's vertical. Now, what you do for the equation, if it's a vertical line, it's x equals a number. So you look at the 2 points and which value is the same? The x value is the same. What's the same value? It's x equals negative 3. That's the equation of the line. Done. Okay. Okay. Can you have a little break? We can have that. I mean, we're almost done. We should be finished in around 30 minutes, 35 minutes. So if you can push through just a little bit longer, that'd be good. All right. We'll have like a 5-minute break maybe after question 1. For the people that have been working hard, yes, I will give a little break before question like 2 and 3. So for part D here, line passes through negative 2, negative 3, and 5, 6. I'm just going to plug it in right away. You should have 6 minus negative 3 over 5 minus negative 2. Okay? 6 minus negative 3 over 5 minus negative 2. In doing so,
I know the answer.
All right, what is it, James?
It is 9 and 7. 9 over 7.
Perfect, 9 over 7. So that's going to be our slope that we are using. We plug that into our slope, our line y equals mx plus b equation. And then we sub in one of our points. If you don't like using negatives, plug in 5, 6. If you don't care and you want to use smaller numbers, use the negatives. I think people prefer positives. That's my assumption. So I'm going to plug in 5, 6. And that's going to give me 6 is equal to 9 over 7 times 5 plus b. In doing so, I will get 6 is equal to 45 over 7 plus b, because 9 times 5 is 45. Moving the 45 over 7 to the left side will give me 6 minus 45 over 7. And I have to change 6 in terms of denominator 7, which will give me 42 over 7 minus 45 over 7, which gives us our finale. Negative 3 over 7 is equal to b. So taking our slope and y-intercept, we can write our final equation. Y is equal to 9 over 7x minus 3 over 7. And there's our final answer. If you forgot the negative sign, just be careful. Remember that you only lose like 0.5 of a mark. So I will zoom out here. This is all of part 1, first part of part 1, questions A to D. Take a look at that. If you have any questions, please let me know in the chat now. We still have 3 more questions to go, and then we'll take a short 5-minute break for those that have been working hard to get a break, and then we'll continue on from there. Okay, looks like there's no questions. We're going to move on to question E, F, and G. Okay, so question E, F, and G. Whoops. Same idea for this one. When you plug it into the slope equation, you'll do negative 6 minus negative 6 over 7 minus 4. In doing so, negative 6 minus negative 6 gives me 0. And the bottom of 7 minus 4 gives me 3. But 0 over 3, the final slope is just 0. The line is horizontal for this one. Right? When the slope is 0, the line is horizontal. So looking back at our points, we can look, oh, wait, the y values are the same. So the equation is y equals negative 6. Right? We can see that the y values are the same here. And this would be your final answer. Questions? Questions? All right.
Excuse me. Yeah, the 6 minus 6 is 0, right? And why you?
6 is 0. Yeah.
So why you put the negative 6?
Are you talking about the equation?
Like how?
For all horizontal lines, the equation is y equals a number for all horizontal lines. Why? Because, well, slope is 0, isn't it? So if the slope is 0 for y equals mx plus b, this disappears. So you're left with y equals b.
Yeah, right.
Right? So as a result, you're just going to get y equals a number. Because the x is completely gone.
Yeah.
So that's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. So that's for clarification. Yeah, if you plug in m equals 0, x is going to be gone because x times 0 is 0. There's nothing there. All right, so for F, it tells us that the x-intercept is 6 and the y-intercept is the same as here. Okay? Well, the issue here is that, well, we see an equation of the line. We don't have it in y equals mx plus b form. So first off, the x-intercept is 6. The coordinates for that would be 6, 0. Because for all x-intercepts, the y value is 0. So that is true. That's our first point. That's point number 1. For point number 2, we need to convert this to y equals mx plus b. So if we move 5x and negative 8, I'm going to get negative 2y equals negative 5x plus 8. And dividing by negative 2 on everything will give me y is equal to 5 over 2x minus 4. It tells us that it has the same y-intercept as this equation. What's the y-intercept here? 0, negative 4. So we can then take this and put that here. Okay? So we can say for here, hello? Why is it not working now? Now my drawing is not working. That's not good. I love technical difficulties. It makes my life so great. Oh, there we go. Fixed it. I don't know how, but we did it. Okay, so our second point here is 0, negative 4. So the y-intercept for this equation is here, right? We know that this is the y-intercept because this is b. So the coordinates for that is 0, negative 4. Once we have our 2 points, we can solve for our slope. Negative 4 minus 0 over 0 minus 6. In doing so, I will get negative 4 over negative 6, which gives me 2 over 3 simplified. We now have our b value as well as our m value, so the final equation will be 2 over 3x minus 4. And there's our final equation there. So for this question, the tricky part was understanding, I know I need x and y intercepts, but can you get the coordinates, right? Because you need to be able to write it in terms of x comma y. So if it says x-intercept is 6, you need to be able to write 6, 0 as a coordinate. And same for y-intercept. If the y-intercept is negative 4, that should ring a bell and say, oh, that's 0, negative 4. Okay? So that was the important part here. Our last one. G. This was a long one. This was a tricky one. I would like everyone to pay attention for this one. We have the same x-intercept as this one and the same y-intercept as the second equation. Okay, let's work with our x-intercept first. Solving for x-intercept. Okay, let's solve for the x-intercept first here. So for solving for our x-intercept here, we have 5x minus 2y minus 10 equals 0. If we're solving for an x-intercept, we don't need to rearrange anything. We can say sub in y equals 0. We know we can do this because for all x-intercepts, the y value is 0. So plugging that in, I get 5x minus 2 times 0 minus 10 equals 0. Well, 2 times 0, negative 2 times 0 is gone. So we get 5x minus 10 equals 0. Moving the 10 to the other side, 5x equals 10. And then divide by 5, and we're going to get x equals 2. So the x-intercept is 2, 0. That's the first part of our question. Okay. So we've taken the first equation, we're solving for the x-intercept, we plugged in y equals 0 into the equation, and we found our x-intercept. The second step is to solve for the y-intercept. You have two different ways you can solve for your y-intercept. Two different ways. Your first way is to rearrange to y equals mx plus b. Your second way is to plug in x equals 0. Some people prefer plugging in x equals 0. So we're going to do that. So we're going to copy down 3x minus 2y plus 6 equals 0. Okay? And we're going to sub in x equals 0 to solve for the y-intercept. In doing so, I get 3 times 0 minus 2y plus 6 equals 0. 3 times 0 is gone, and we're left with negative 2y plus 6 equals 0. Plugging this in, moving the 6 to the other side, I will get negative 2y equals negative 6. Dividing by negative 2 on both sides, that'll give me y equals positive 3, which gives us our y-intercept, which is 0, 3, and that tells us that the b value is also 3. Okay? So that's what we have so far. Part 2 complete. Part 3, solve for slope. Our 2 points are 2, 0 and 0, 3. We just solved for those 2 points. In doing so, we can now solve for our slope using our slope formula. 3 minus 0 over 0 minus 2. When we solve that out, we're going to get 3 over negative 2, or the same thing as just writing negative 3 over 2. Doesn't matter where you put the negative. We now have our slope. Final equation. Y is equal to the slope, negative 3 over 2x. Let me rewrite that. So negative 3 over 2x. And then it has the same y-intercept. So we said b equals 3, so it's plus 3. And there's our final answer. So I'm going to leave this on the screen here. I'm going to put a 7-minute timer. I'll do 8. I'll be nice. I'll do 8 minutes. No, 7 minutes. 7 minutes. I'll put a timer. Okay. So a break starting now, 7 minutes for you to go get water, relax, stretch, take a 7-minute nap maybe, up to you. But 7 minutes on the clock, we'll be back. This is for those people that have been working hard during those 15 minutes to finish these questions or try them. So we'll see you back here in 7 minutes. All right, break time's over. Let's finish off strong, ladies and gentlemen. Let's finish off strong. Okay. So with what we have so far, we now have the final part, which is our word problems. And just because they're word problems doesn't make them extremely scary, or it shouldn't, right? You should still be able to solve these problems. So let's try these. Question 2. An appliance repair company charges $205 for a repair that takes 3 hours. The same company charges $505 for a repair that takes 8 hours. Determine an equation that represents the cost of a repair based on the number of hours that the repair takes. Okay? So it says it charges $205 for a repair that takes 3 hours. Okay. So for the first one, it says it takes $205 for a repair that takes 3 hours. And then it also charges $505 for a repair that takes 8 hours. So the points, what would be our x and y variables? What is our x variable? For us, let x be time and let y be cost. There's not two companies, Kuzli. It's one company. So for us, therefore, the first point is 3,205, and the second point is 8,505. The reason why you can't divide them, to get the unit rate is because you don't know what the initial cost is. Do you even know that there was an initial cost? You don't, right? It's the same company. We know it's the same company. We're just looking at two different charges. But the issue here is that you don't know whether or not it has an initial value. So when it tells you that it charges $205 for a repair that takes 3 hours, it's telling you the coordinates of the points. 3,205. X is time, so 3 hours is time. That's X. $205, that's cost. That's our Y. There's our first point, 3,205. That's the first section. Okay? So I'm going to put stars here. So this part here, if I star it, is pretty much here. This is that star. And then for $505 for a repair that takes 8 hours, I'll do the asterisk, and that's here. So I've taken these two sections to create my 2 points. Okay? Then to create my equation, I have to solve for the slope. So the slope here, for us, we can say, sorry, let's list out x1, y1. So x1 is 3, y1 is 205, x2 is 8, y2 is 505. And plugging it in, we get this. In doing so, 505 minus 205 gives me 300. And 300 over 8 minus 3 is 5. So my slope, 300 divided by 5, is 60. Perfect. We have our slope. So that allows us to plug in our slope into our equation. So 60x plus b. Now we can solve for b. We can plug in. So I'm going to sub in one of my points. I'll sub in 3,205 to solve for b. And so 205 is y. And x is 3. And I'm going to get 205 is equal to 180 plus b. Moving the 180 to the left side, we get this. And 205 minus 180 gives me 25. We now have our slope and y-intercept. What's our final equation? Y is equal to 60x plus 25. And there's our final equation here. So this question, right, checks everything. Do you understand how to write coordinates from a word problem? Do you understand how to solve for slope? Do you understand how to solve for y-intercept? And do you understand how you can put that all together to make one equation? Okay. So that's what question 2a was talking about here. Let's move on. I'm going to leave that on the screen here. Let's move on to question B. What is the cost of a repair that takes 7 hours? So it tells us that time is 7. So that means that x is equal to 7. So we can plug it in. We have the equation. We can now plug it into our equation. Y is equal to 60 times 7 plus 25.
445.
Perfect. So James has solved it fully. That'll give us 445 is y. And it's a word problem, so we need our therefore statement. Therefore, a repair that takes
7 hours is $445.
good. That takes 7 hours, costs $445. Perfect. Thank you, James. Done. That's part B. Right? So you're using the equation that you just created to now solve the rest of the question. Question C is similar, except it tells us the repair cost. So this time it's telling us that y is equal to 385. So plugging it into my equation, once again, copying the equation down, 60x plus 25. Writing it out, 385 is equal to 60x plus 25. Moving the 25 to the left side, I get 385 minus 25 equals 60x. Subtracting this here gives me 360 equals 60x. And I can divide both sides by 60. And that will give me 6 is equal to x. So our final answer. Therefore, a repair taking or cost a repair that costs $385 will take 6 hours. And there's our final answer for this one. Okay. And I think that's it for this question here. So I'm going to zoom out for question 2 to show you this as a whole. Please take a look at this. Does anyone want any clarifications on any steps, any questions? Questions? Okay, looks like there's no questions, so we are going to move on. For question 3 here. For weddings, Prime Banquet Hall charges a fixed fee to rent the room plus an additional fee per guest. A wedding for 100 guests would cost a total of $11,700, and a wedding for 200 guests would cost a total of $21,850. And it asks us to determine the fee per guest. So first, let's write our x and let y be. So let x be what? What does x represent in our question here? Anyone in chat? The guests. Yes, let x be the number of guests. Which means let y be the cost. Okay? So that's going to be our idea. So once again, our two sections, we have this part that gives us information. Wow, that is a terrible line. We have this part that gives us information. And we also have this part that gives us information. Okay? So from the first part, we can get the point 100, 11700. For 100 guests, it costs $11,700. So we get the first point. For the second point, it costs 200 for 21,850. The question is asking for fee per guest. The word per tells us to find slope. The question is asking us, what is the slope for this problem? So finding the slope, we can say, oh, x1 is 100, y1 is 11700, x2 is 200, and y2 is 21,850. We plug that into the slope formula. Like so. Right? If you don't remember the slope formula, we've been using it, but in case you don't remember, there's the slope formula. And solving this will give us
10,150 over 100.
10,150 over 100. Perfect. Dividing this fraction, right? Dividing this out will give us 101.5. The reason why we have to do that is because the question was asking for rate of change. We have to use it in terms of the units. So we can say, therefore, the fee per guest is 101.5. Oops, that's an 8. Dollars per guest. So that's the unit, right? Fee per guest. So it's $101.5 per guest. Okay. So we're left with that. So that's the first question here. It's asking for rate of change. You need your units. Next question was to determine the fixed fee. The fixed fee is referring to the y-intercept or the b value. Right?
The thing that never changes.
Yeah, the thing that never changes. Fixed fee, fixed cost, flat fee. There's a lot of words for it. Initial value. But in this question, they're using fixed fee. That should give you a hint as to solving for the y-intercept. So in doing so, we have our slope. We said our slope was 101.5. So we can plug that into our equation. Y is equal to 101.5x plus b. We also have 2 points from our previous question. So we can sub in one of them. So we'll use the smaller one, 100, 11700. And that will give us 11,700 is equal to 101.5x, or x is 100, sorry, plus b. From here, we multiply it out, so 1,000, I keep saying 1,000, 11,700 is equal to 10,150 plus b. We move the 10,150 to the left side, and we're going to get our next answer. So we get 1,550 is equal to b. Okay? So we have our b value. So the fixed fee, therefore, the fixed fee to rent the room is $1,550. Okay? Any questions on question B? All right, looks like there are no other questions. We're going to keep going here. Question C. Write an equation that represents the total cost of the wedding, C, and in terms of the number of guests, N. So they want us to use different letters. That's fine. It's because we said that X is guests, so X is now N, and C is cost, which was Y, so Y is C. So we can now replace that. So normally we would say it's Y is equal to 101.5x plus 1550. But because we want it in terms of what the question wants us to replace it with, we are now replacing it as C is equal to 101.5n plus 1550. Okay, so I've just replaced x and y with C and n. Okay. It doesn't change anything. How you create the question is exactly the same. It's understanding that n is x and c is y. Okay. Then it says use the equation in part C to determine the cost for a wedding for 150 guests and then 250 guests. So for 150 guests, that's telling us that n equals 150. So plugging it into our equation, whoops. We can say C is equal to 101.5 times 150 plus 1550. The final answer you should get here is 16,775. Okay. For 250 guests, it's just saying that n equals 250. So plugging it into our equation again, since we already have the equation on the left, we can just kind of plug it in. And in doing so, we can do that. We get C is equal to 26,925. And then we can write our therefore statement. Therefore, the cost of a wedding for 150 guests is 16,775. The cost of a wedding for 250 guests is $26,925. And there's our final answer there. And congratulations, we have finished all of the practice homework questions that you were supposed to do. Okay. So here's zoomed out for question 3. Please take a look. Once again, these lessons will be uploaded to YouTube, right? So you can view it on YouTube whenever you want, and you can relook at it. All right. Are there any final questions before I say my announcements for today?
I have one.
Yes. What is your question?
How many more tests are we gonna have for the quad?
That's a good question. How many more tests are we going to have? We are probably going to have, well, we have the next one on Monday, and then another test probably in 2 weeks. So a total of 2 more tests.
Okay.
In between, you will still have like assignments and homework checks, though. So please be prepared for those. Okay. All right. So now that being said, okay, some announcements. So I'm gonna end the stream here.